Welcome to our 5th edition of Scott2ube on this Wednesday, this Earth Day. We're very glad that you've decided to join us. Hopefully you're enjoying these little glimpses into the Corona lives of your teachers. They sure are enjoying bringing it to you. Every day I get more stuff than I'm able to use. So we've already got Friday's show pretty much planned. I've got some stuff saved for Monday. And so it's an exciting time out there. Hopefully, like I said, you're enjoying this. We sure do miss you guys while we're out of school. So want to take a look today at a couple of things. The very first one is I want to remind you about our audio book club this week. If you remember, we're reading The Downstairs Girl, but we're doing it in audiobook form. If you haven't downloaded that yet, it's not too late to get started with that. I've got the book downloaded. I've got the earbuds ready. And when I do some mowing this afternoon, I'm going to start to dive into that. Here's Mrs. Slayton, our school librarian, media specialist, with some tips on how to enjoy the audiobook experience. Check this out.
Happy National Library Week. So I want to say how much I'm missing you guys, and I miss celebrating National Library Week with my readers. It's always a fun week in the Media Center for us, where we run a lot of great contests and we promote our books that have been popular throughout the year. We give away lots of prizes and candy and stuff. So it's kind of different this year, of course, just like everything else. But I want to say thank you to Mr. Bagwell, first of all, for this show that he produces, and secondly, for issuing the audiobook challenge for National Library Week on Monday. And I know that audiobooks are not necessarily the format that a lot of you consume your books in, but I do think it's a really good skill, an important skill to listen. It's really a great thing in relationships when you can listen effectively and hear what's being said, and it's a great job skill. So I want to encourage you to do it. It's kind of, I think of it like yoga for my brain. I think that it's really great to kind of train and discipline your brain to listen. And I do this on a regular basis, so I'm going to give you a few tips that I use when I'm doing audiobooks. The first thing is that when I'm listening to an audiobook, I use earbuds. So the earbuds kind of help take away the ambient noise and help you to really kind of focus in on what's going on in the book. The next thing I would say, another tip, is to kind of prime the pump, is what I call it. For this book, we'll use a discussion guide for The Downstairs Girl. And I won't be asking you to respond to necessarily the questions on there. They're just kind of like thinking questions. I think it's good to start with a goal in mind. So I read through the discussion guide before I even started the book, and I'd encourage you to do that as well. Kind of let your brain know what to expect. The next thing I would say is listen in small chunks. So even if I'm walking for 40-45 minutes, which I typically listen to my audiobooks while I walk or while I fold laundry, some other kind of mindless activity. So if I'm going to be doing that for about 40 minutes, I might only listen for about 20 minutes, and then I'll stop. And so the next tip is, what do you do when you stop? You stop and you either write or you think. Like for this book, I've got a little notebook and I've written down a couple of things. Like the first thing I wrote down is number 1, as long as you have a home, you have a place to plan and dream. And that happened in chapter 1. Another quote I wrote down was from chapter 4. It said, great souls have wills, while feeble souls only wishes. So if I hear something kind of that piques my interest, I'll pause the book and I might write it down. I'll just kind of think about it. So the next tip is about thinking, connect it to your world. So what I've listened to so far in this book, I've kind of really connected with her theme of isolation. She lives in a world of social isolation, and she lives in a world of actually physical isolation in the basement. And so I've kind of thought about that as I've read. And the last tip I would have is connect to others. Connect to others while you're reading. So it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who is listening to the book with you. You can just kind of mention that I'm listening to this book and this girl, and maybe tell a little story from the book or something. but we can all actually connect with other people who are reading the book for this audiobook challenge, and we're going to do that through Flipgrid. So I encourage you, if you've not started the book, to go ahead and get started. It's not too late to join in. And after you have started the book, I want you to go to the SHS student group, and I want you to click on the image of the book, and then that will launch you into a Flipgrid discussion that you can participate in by posting a video. I'll post a video, but you don't necessarily have to go with the topic that I'm talking about. You can talk about anything in the book that you find interesting. Remember, this is a book club, so we'll run it like that. Just come with something that you want to share from what you're reading. I hope you'll join me in this challenge. A great way to celebrate National Library Week. I want to tell you that I miss you and that I hope to see you soon.
All right, next up, we have got Mrs. Walton. Mrs. Walton is back, and she's stepping up her game a little bit today. So check this out. I think probably what we're going to figure out is you guys are coming out of this a lot stronger cooks than what you think. So let's check and see what Mrs. Walton has for us today. Thanks, Mrs. Walton. You know, one of the things that people are doing for safety these days is wearing face masks. Now, that can be a little restricting, could look a little funny unless you put a little style into your face mask. My friend Mrs. Callahan is going to give you a short tutorial here on how you can make your very own face mask at home. And so if you follow these steps, you will be the height of fashion, as well as you will be protecting yourself or even others. You could make these for hospital workers, for family members, things like that. If you're looking for an activity to do, you will be right there at the height of fashion and the height of healthiness. If you take the opportunity to make one of these face masks, why not snap a picture? Throw it up on my Instagram, my Twitter, or email it to jbagwell at scsd2.k12.in.us, and we'll feature you in an upcoming Scott2ube episode.
Good morning, Scott2ube. My name is Mrs. Callahan, and there is a new fad out, and it is called the face mask. So I'm going to be showing you how to make your own face masks for when you go out in public.
First, you're going to run a warm iron over the fabric to take out all the wrinkles. Then you're going to need to decide which size you want. There are 3 sizes on the pattern that I found. I used the medium size for myself, but I needed to make extra large ones for my husband and my son. Next, you're going to fold the fabric over so that you have 4 layers of fabric on top of each other and trace out the pattern that you've chosen. When cutting out your pattern, be sure to keep all 4 pieces of fabric aligned so that all 4 are exactly the same. Now we're going to cut out strips for the tie strings. You will need 4 2-inch by 18-inch pieces of fabric to make the ties. Lastly, we're going to sew it all together. We're going to start by sewing the 2 pattern pieces together on the curved edge of the pattern. Next, we're going to do the same thing with our solid fabric. Again, we're going to sew along the curved edge, sewing both of those pieces together. When you sew your straps, we're going to sew one end of the strap closed and then along the long side of each piece of material to make a tube. We're going to do this to all 4 pieces of our fabric. Turning these straps inside right is one of the hardest parts for me. I found using a shish kebab skewer was the easiest thing to use. You could also try a chopstick. I think that would work nicely, but you need to turn all 4 of your straps inside out. Now we're ready to put the whole thing together. You can use pins to attach the straps prior to sewing, but I find this is more difficult because you have to remember to remove the pin before you sew over it so that you don't break your needle on your sewing machine. I start at the bottom corner of my mask when sewing it together, and I double or triple sew where my straps are attached to reinforce those areas. And then you're just simply going to sew along the edge of the mask. Once you get close to the next corner of your mask, you simply need to place the next strap in between your 2 layers of fabric and then continue to sew. You want to make sure that you keep the straps out of the way of the edges so that you don't sew your strap onto the side of your mask. When you get to the last strap, again, be sure to keep all 4 straps away from the edge. You're also not going to want to sew all the way over. You're going to want to sew the strap on and then leave that hole opened so that you can pull all of those straps and the mask inside out in the end. Be sure to reinforce this edge really well. Once you are finished sewing, you simply pull those straps out of the hole to turn your mask inside right. Then you'll want to pull everything out and straighten it out. And voila, you have the hottest new accessory, the face mask.
All right, thanks, Mrs. Callahan. What we've got now for you is a teacher having a little bit of fun. My good friend, Mrs. Nunley, has gotten a special house guest that has showed up to help her during COVID-19. I'm not going to say any more than that because if I did, it would ruin it for you. So check this out. Here is, well, like I said, I'm just going to let her introduce it to you.
Hey everyone, it's Miss Nunley here, and my special guest, Fancy Nancy, in case you didn't recognize her. I don't know about you guys, but staying in quarantine is making us lose our mind. We don't know what else to do. We've done more bubbles than I can count. We've done every craft I can think of. We sing songs, we play board games, we played card games, and we were out of ideas. So I made a special trip to my classroom and found a special friend. And I think you're going to really enjoy seeing how that special friend enjoys surviving quarantine.
Last up today on Scott2ube, my good friend Bobby Ashley. Some of you know Bobby. He's coached a lot of our running sports here at the high school for a lot of years. Some of you may have had him as a middle school basketball coach. Bobby is just a great guy. And we're excited because next year Bobby is going to be on staff with all of us. He's taking over our JAG program. Some of you may know what that is, some of you may not, but Bobby has put together a commercial here for you to kind of give you an idea of what the JAG program is going to look like. Bobby got famous last year for his Alice Cooper lip sync here at the county lip sync battle. Unfortunately, Alice Cooper isn't going to be making an appearance in the video, but we've got maybe the world's most famous archaeologist in his place. So check this out.
I'm Bobby Ashley, JAG instructor, Scottsburg High School. Yeah, I'm a teacher, not just part-time. We're about education, success, and your future. Snakes, why does it have to be snakes? No, really, we want you to think outside of the box, discover who you are, and become the best you possibly can be. How are we going to do it? I don't know. We're making this up as we go. Really, if you want to think outside the box and become who you want to be and be a success, then think about our JAG program. Only you know what you've got. This is where the outside world meets your world and the adventure begins. Are you ready to explore? JAG, Jobs for America's Graduates. Check it out. This is your world. It's your choice what you want to do. JAG, Jobs for America's Graduates. Guys, I'm not going to lie to you. It's going to be tough. We've got to work together. You've got to learn to work together as a team, and we all have to do our part for us to learn what we need to get you to succeed. But you can do this. Every one of you have this deep down motor that makes you run, that wants you to succeed. And you're not going to quit on that. We're not going to let you quit. We've got to work together, like I said. Now, we've got to get you ready to graduate, to think about the outside world, the jobs, college, military, whatever it might be. You can do this. We're not going to let you fail if you do the work. You have the opportunity to become something bigger than you thought, than anybody thought, except maybe you or your family, to be the best you can be and do what you want to do. Guys, you've got the opportunities of a lifetime. You've got the tools and you've got the ability to do so. Now it's up to you of what you do and how you do it. JAG, Jobs for America's Graduates. Check it out.
All right, folks, that's it for another edition of Scott2ube. We hope you enjoyed it. Friday, be back here. We'll have the teacher karaoke ready to go on Friday. Jillian, I don't know how you do those so quickly. It's been rough, but I think you guys are going to have fun with what we've come up with for that. We'll have grilling with Mr. Dunn is going to show up. Mrs. Pratt's going to take us back out hunting for some of those critters in our own backyards. We've just got all kinds of great stuff that's going to be out there for you. Mr. Schmidt from the guidance department may even stop by and show you guys how to play one of his favorite games over the weekend. So we hope you're having a fabulous Wednesday. We hope that you're working on those e-learning assignments. Again, your teachers are around from 10 to 2 today to answer your questions. And I'm sure if you send us an email, we could get back to you even after that. Folks, we love you. We miss you. We're doing our best to stay connected. Hope you're staying safe. Your families are staying safe. And we'll see you next time on Scott2ube.